Wait,
the current revolution in science, DeSci. We already had this, so I'm like a little bit older than most of you, and I went through like a few revolutions in science, yeah, and I will like talk about this. And there's something that is really different this time. We already know this, and I think this is like really a golden thing that we have in our hands now. If we channel this in the right directions, we can really change science. And okay, cool. Thank you very much. So lessons learned from earlier science revolutions and what we can do differently now and what we can learn from this, okay? Thank you. Okay, first big congratulations, very slow, very small, yeah, on this like setup. And it's already, as I said, like a dream came through. We have really science projects, they use blockchain technology, Web3, and you distribute money through this, yeah? Okay, so today's revolution in science is decentralized science. We all know the definition by Sarah, published in Nature. Decentralized science movement aims to harness new technologies such as blockchain and Web3 to address some important research pain points, silos, and bottlenecks. However, it is happening with little input from the established academic communities. So, okay, what are the pain points in science? It's a long list. And who of you has worked in science, wrote grant publications, maybe moved into the DeSci space because they were fed up with some things there? I mean, we have the high threshold publications, yeah, you only write publications. Sometimes it's a lot of, it's a long time to write a publication. We have monopoly building, impact factor, silos. It's very expensive. We have a closed peer review culture, and so on and so on. We only publish sometimes. We try to implement dynamic publications like wikis. It's not working because we have the culture that is like built around the printing press almost, yeah? And the publishers control what is good science, and they take this from the ages when there was a paper that need to be printed on paper to be very able to be distributed enough. And from this, they like still harness on this control that they created at these days. Then we have grants. Like grants take a lot of effort. There's actually a publication that says that the ECR, the European Research Council, ERC, grants take more from the scientific community than they actually give back in terms of money, like the efforts, yeah? So just like distributing the money randomly would like be better for the science community, yeah? And we have institutes with local cultures. Contribution, collaboration is limited, massive legal, administrative, and they had an overhead. They act in their interest. They are change resistant. Research data is not really open only at certain points. When everything works out in your paper and you have like cleaned up your research data, then you publish it in a nice way, yeah? Only then, and maybe in a way that nobody else can use it, yeah? But you have like fulfilled what the European grants authority said to you, that you have to publish your research data, yeah? And there's not even a little trail of like how the data was created. You just like submit a final Excel sheet or a data set, yeah? You can like manipulate it a little bit if the research results doesn't end up with a p-value under 0.05, yeah? And some researchers make things overly complex to publish. They look biased at research results, and some just like behave in a way that shouldn't be like a scientist. Some called it like cargo cult science. They behave like a scientist, but they are not really innovative. Organizations with a massive overhead and blah, blah, blah support the mean, not the innovative, crazy thinkers. And translation is risk-averse financing large overhead until you get money to like translate your research project. And sometimes VCs are like reluctant to believe the research data. There was like for drug discovery a paper 10 years ago in Nature. In Nature, they tried to like reproduce the results that scientists like created in the lab, even from Ivy League schools in high-ranked publication, and they could only like reproduce like 15% out of it before the drug companies. So imagine they would have a data trail and VCs could trust that the research data and the results are really true, okay? Yeah? Okay, sorry. Yeah, and we've seen earlier science revolutions, yeah? I actually contributed to one. This is the Science 2.0 movement. This was like in the late 2000s when the Web 2.0 came up. And we thought like with a social network for science, and I was like in the team in the early stages of ResearchGate, with a social network for science, we can fix whole science, yeah? Get rid of the publishers, everybody publishes in a social network, and everything becomes good and cool, and we have like better improved science. And even there was like this Vitalik of the 2000s, you know him, yeah? He threw a lot of money at the project, yeah? He was like the Belinda and Bill Gates Foundation. They were interested in open access. He thought like as a tech guy, why aren't papers accessible? Yeah, this can't be true. So we have to fix this. And there was like a little legal loophole in ResearchGate that allows people to like put up their publications on the social network page because it counted as your personal web page, okay? And there was Angela Merkel there, and there were like many other projects like Mendeley. It was marketed like the last FM. Today, one would say Netflix for science. Yeah, you're interested in this paper, then you get like this in this paper. Many more projects, many died. Some like academia.edu, ResearchGate, Mendeley, Zotero, they still exist. And of course, Twitter. Twitter came up like in the late 2000s. Yeah. Oh, okay. So, and then there was the open science revolution. Or it's like constantly people talk about open science, right? So, actually, science was always open. And it's like in the word stems of publication and patent. It means like patent, it's like the parterre, that is like open to your backyard. The word stems are to publish something. So, science was always open. The degree of openness is just like what's changing over time, yeah? So we called our book, Opening Science because of this. You use new technologies to be more open, yeah? And then there was like blockchain for science in the 2018, mainly ICO-driven projects. And some died, some was even called decentralized science, a decentralized research platform. Yeah, but where did we end up with all these revolutions in science? Yeah? Well, we have the same pain point today. A few things changed here and there. Of course, we have like open data because grant authorities ask us to like use open data. We have like more open access journals. Actually, the publishers get more money by like using open access. Your university subscribes to the journal, and you pay the open access fees, yeah? So they basically cheated on us again, yeah? Okay, so what we conclude from this, things that didn't help in the past. Best intentions, singing Kumbaya together, didn't work out, yeah? Going to open science meetups, oh cool, we should like fix this, publish it, everything, it's fine, didn't work out, yeah? And then many scientists are like open science pirates in the early stages, and then they realize, well, I have to publish and get this to get a position, become a professor, and okay, I was like an anarchist early on, and now I have a brain, I'm like no longer a communist, I have to play by the rules, okay? Happened to many of my friends, yeah? And it didn't work out by just like having open science projects, publish about it, have free licenses. If nobody uses all these projects, it doesn't change anything, right? It didn't work out in the past. Putting up a web page, this should be like this, and we should like improve science this way. Well, didn't work out, yeah? Taking pictures with famous people, didn't work out either. And large amount of monies. Like Bill Gates, he put like 80 millions. Other people like funded like open access things. Did work out so and so far only, yeah? Why was that, yeah? Because it's like, okay, what we are against to, these are like some of the people we are against to, the institutions, publishers, yeah? They have like a lot, even much more money. Like the publishing industry is like a $16 billion economy per year. 16 billions, yeah? The revenues in the publishing industry is only surpassed by the revenues in extraction business, in oil firms and like coal mining firms, yeah? Open funded institutes are resistant to change, and again have a lot of tax money. Yeah, they don't want to like let anybody else in. They have the tax money to spend. Yeah, one example is that happened to us when we like had Blockchain for Science. There was the Max Planck Digital Library who came up after half a year when there was the Blockchain for Science project with a novel consortium on Blockchain for Science. And guess what? They do invite-only conferences. Only contributing research institutes are allowed to come to their conference. Yeah, is this really open? Yeah, with tax money? We have to question that, right? And now we have the DeSci revolution. Are we failing again? Is this like going away, we sing Kumbaya together, and like in 5 years we have the same pain points here? I don't think so this time. I don't think so this time, yeah? Really, really. Yeah? What is, yeah. So what is different in this revolution? Do you have any idea? Anybody has an idea what is really different? I mean, we publish on like decentralized, we tell people to be more open, everything. Yeah, it's same as always. But there's something that is really different this time. Anybody has an idea? Well, it's like the drums. For the first time in all the science revolutions that we have seen in the past, we have direct means to, wait, money. And we decide how money is distributed. So we are science funders, and where the money flows, the honey goes. If we can control research money for the first time. Not in ResearchGate, we couldn't control it. There were the same old funders. In open science, well, we should be open, but there was like nobody changed because they still have to publish with the old impact factor journals and everything, yeah? And this time it's really different. Why and where's the money coming from? So we have money in the blockchain space. We have DAOs to distribute research money. We have all these beautiful new economies, IP NFTs, Gitcoin with quadratic funding. And one difference is to like, for example, ResearchGate or Twitter is, blockchain platforms are not only decentralized, but they are also provable to the outside. So imagine you would have a tax money distributing research agency and tell them to distribute tax money with respect to likes or retweets on Twitter or on ResearchGate. They say like, what the hell, yeah, we are not going to do this. The administrator can just sit down with a glass of champagne and manipulate the likes and everything, okay? But if you have a blockchain platform, it's provable to the outside, beyond manipulation, and if you fix civil attacks like identity problems, we could actually go and tell the tell the grant authority, hey, why don't you use this platform to distribute research money? It's provable to the outside. Even nobody like hacked Bitcoin so far, right? So for the first time, a science revolution has real and direct power. So, and we as a community could come up with a wish list that we want scientists to adhere to if they want to have money that is distributed through a DAO or through quadratic funding. And we can basically put everything in that was like a pain for us in science and have scientists to adhere with this. Yeah? For example, we can, of course, tell them don't publish in closed journals. Other grant authorities already do this. Publish and timestamp your research results on the blockchain, so you don't look biased at the data or fix it later on, okay? And VCs can actually rely on the data trails, that it is like really there. Use decentralized publishing platform, short grants and funding proposals, no more overhead. You already do this, yeah? And there's like a longer list. We can like, basically it's like a wish list for Christmas as a kid that we could come up how the science world in the future can look like, because people that want to like get money from a DAO should adhere to these things, yeah? And for you, for the DeSci community, this doesn't mean any change because you already take it as this is like what's DeSci about, right? Publish decentralized, have an immutable data trail, create new incentives, use token economies. So there's no much change for you. But it's like if you tell somebody outside at Charité and you're worried about like onboarding people to a research DAO, I bet the first time some lab neighbor got like 20 grants out of a research DAO, the others will follow. Yeah? So I know my fellow researchers, if there is money, they will do everything. Yeah? even fake results, okay? So, okay, what should we do as a community? As you already said, like a one-pager to onboard people, how to install MetaMask and so on, but also come up with guidelines and stick with them, how researchers should conduct science in the DeSci way if they want to have money from us, yeah? And this is like really, really powerful. Okay, and then we might sing Kumbaya in a few years together and really fix science for the better. Okay, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Sönke. That was an amazing last session.
Thank you.
We had one last inspirational session. We have questions? Any questions for? Oh, yeah. Okay. So we're gonna some questions because you were so great on time. Just remember to say your name.
Beautiful. Thanks so much. This was awesome. Super inspirational. I'm Raf from Digital Gaia, and I was wondering, and we're working on exactly this kind of stuff. And one thing that we talk about all the time is, yes, researchers will go where the money is, but they'll also go where the reputation is. And reputation is an incentive that's a lot harder to redirect than money. So how do we create reputation systems that have integrity and that don't just replicate silos and hierarchical structures, but that are effective in this new world?
This is a very, very good question and a very difficult question to answer. But if you come up and you probably will have some sort of ideas to create something like that, and we shouldn't be so hard at us if we evaluate these new concepts, because the old concept is very, very messy. But we are all used to it, and we shouldn't be so hard if we come up with something new that has some weak points here and there, because reputation is very hard, even if you, especially if you want to make it Sybil attack resistant or being fakeable. And what I've seen in the past is that people, if they come up with something new, there's somebody, oh, this can easily be faked by this and this. But in today's world, with the impact factor and everything, it's very, very messy, okay? So most likely everything that we will build will be better, will be an improvement, yeah? Okay? We'll do our best. No.
Yeah. I just had to your last point, which I loved. I just had the comment, which I think most people haven't realized yet. Even is that your wish list of things. I think there are some examples where it's already happening. Where for example, ARC Institute is one example that got funded by Vitalik and Patrick Collison from Stripe, etc. So it's not just crypto people, but they basically have all these most of the wish list items you have open publishing. They don't and then they're I think. It's just interesting to highlight, and there are good articles about it, about the efforts. For example, Vitalik has been supporting institutes that are already sitting outside of academia, like New Science, or Jet McCaleb from Stellar, as well as Juan from Protocol Labs, kind of have put billions in the last 12 months even into specific scientific efforts that share a lot of decentralized science principles while sitting outside of the big institutions. So it's already happening. It's interesting to look into how exactly it's happening. So just what I wanted to add, because as an optimistic note.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for that comment, Vincent. It was a good one. One more question here.
Hi, Philip from the DeSci Foundation. So I actually just wanted to add to that, Sönke. So this is actually, I totally agree with you, but I think we have more in our hands now than just money. We can also design incentives and mechanisms, which is completely new, right? And I do think that with that power comes a lot of responsibility. So there is a substantial danger that, with us basically redesigning the system from scratch, that we're going to make mistakes again, right? And even if the adoption goes through the roof and, we all want to sing Kumbaya, it is super, super important that we monitor what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right? So we need to keep a close eye on what are actually the consequences of the incentives that we're creating. And for that reason, we're actually starting research centers at the DeSci Foundation, which are supposed to do exactly that, to look at what is being evaluated and how how are things being funded, what are the consequences of that, and what are the types of data that we need to collect to actually have AI readiness for science.
Yes, that is the right way to do, and we shouldn't be arrogant and think that we have like automatically a better system. But one thing I want to add here is that with blockchain technology and having like these things on chain, we can like move the incentive systems. Yeah, we can like change it. Today it's like if you measure a system, you change it, and scientists behave in like publishing high-ranked journals or publications. But if they don't know what the incentive or what the retroactive goods funding mechanism in 2 years will be, they might end up just like producing good science results, because it might change easily. And with blockchain and like these we have like means of like changing this easily. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, Pierre Dev is my name. So this is great. It's about changing the environment, the way science is done. So how are we going to instill, how is this going to bleed down into the programs where all these PhD scientists and master scientists are being trained? Because if we're going to change the system that they're being currently trained to work in, then they're going to get out in the field and that system is no longer there. So how are you, and I'm speaking as a scientist, 26 years in the wet lab, I'm an old man like you. How are we going to train, at the earliest ages to think in this process? Because this is not just about changing, about developing some technologies and paradigms and algorithms. It's a critical way in the thought process of how scientists who are classically trained to do science the way they've done. Yeah. What are the? How are we going to make sure that the training and the education of the scientists is going to be followed through with this type of thinking, this DeSci thinking of spreading out across labs, for instance. We need to train the scientists to think this way as well.
Yeah, no, you're right. This like, yeah, exactly. And it's a question like, where do they get their salary from if they just like get 20K out of a grant application? Yeah, this should be like worked out in the future. We are in the very beginning. Yeah, we are in the very beginning. Yeah. It's like here. It's really like. Yeah.
The caregivers who ultimately have to dispense these therapies or what happens to patients, yep, they don't know either.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So if you want to avoid a situation where you had things like cannabis in Germany where nobody, the community itself, the doctors, nobody knew what to do, they just left it out to the community to take care of. So with other things like this, you're talking about changing the whole system, which has been around for a long time. The students need to be started trained now.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Thank you. No one at DeSci is old, FYI. And this ends the first day of DeSci Berlin. Thank you so much, Sönke. That was a great last session. Very inspiring.